I've been called a chart queen, and I have never met a logic model that I didn't love. It's very easy to be seduced by a glossy written proposal, but I've found that it can't tell the whole story. It's vitally important for foundations and grant makers to get out from behind the desk and to experience the magic that can't be captured on paper.
I think it's always a bit scary when someone comes who's funding us to see what we do, because we want to make sure that they get to see the best of who we are and what we do. But the truth is, most days are really difficult. Most days there are a lot of challenges. They think that kids should all be perfectly well behaved, everything should be clean. But once a kid comes in, nothing's ever clean again until they go home. And kids are kids. It's always a bit scary, hoping that people can understand that, and again, still be able to see who we are and what we do and why we do it.
You have to be very careful in how you conduct a site visit, as organizations very naturally want to be putting on their best behavior, their best picture. They want to make things look like they're perfect, and that's not a vision of reality. The more effective site visits that we have are based on a shared understanding that we're trying to learn from one another, that we're not trying to see a vision of perfection, but we're trying to see reality, sometimes the cold, hard reality that's out there that we need to be able to respond to as a funder.
We have so much information today, but we all go back down to our humility and our interaction with, and there's no science to this, but I believe, when you talk to somebody on the phone, there's a different reaction. When you actually meet face to face, you have so much stimulation in other ways. So therefore, I think the site visit really is a vital and key part.
I think we should have human-centered philanthropy. This idea that our philanthropy has to be connected to the people who are benefiting from it. And the only way to do that is to really engage deeply and have conversations with them, to experience their world, however that may be. We do site visits to try and get a sense of what these organizations are doing, but also how can we even take that even deeper as a funder. So it is important to really go beyond listening, and I would say it's about experiencing how the constituents that we're trying to serve are doing their work, but also how the clients they may be serving are really defining what it is we can do to support them better.
I think the most effective and successful grants that we've ever made were the ones where I actually went out and to those communities, and not necessarily with that middleman, the nonprofit executive director, but I just went out on my own and said, let me take a look at that community that they're supposed to represent, that they're supposed to be helping, and let me just do a visit. Let me walk through those streets. Let me drive through those avenues, and let me just get a better feel for the folks that they're trying to help, and even just meet some of the folks, and as I have done in laundromats or barber shops.
We prefer that the site visit not even be scripted, and quite honestly, sometimes when I see the beautiful agenda, it makes me a little nervous. I don't want things to be too planned. I want to see the program in action. I want to be able to meet the people who make the program go, as well as hopefully sometimes the people who are being served.
I find most site visits to be kind of anathema. I know that recently I had the experience of traveling on metro downtown from Pasadena to downtown LA. I was going to the California Endowment, and I happened to walk past one of our grantees, Homeboy Cafe, the whole group down there. And it was much better than any site visit. I was on my way somewhere, and there was a whole bunch of guys dripping in tattoos, black t-shirts, hats on backwards, and they didn't know I was watching over the fence. Father Greg Boyle was giving them a rah-rah. There was a whole bunch of people. And these guys were just having the best time. They were talking to each other. They were in a gang, but this was a healthy gang. And I wasn't on a site visit. It was just this little anecdotal moment where I walked by and I thought, That's the most perfect site visit. Nobody knows I'm here, and these guys are looking after each other. It was just absolutely lovely. One of them was going off to a job interview, and they were all saying, "Go for it, man, come back." A place to come back to. And that's what they sell. But you don't see that on a site visit. It's the dog and pony.
So when we're on a site visit, it's not just about meeting with the staff or meeting with the board members. We try to schedule our site visits during a time when the organization already has something, some activity or action already planned, so that we can go and observe and even sometimes participate. I think that's a really important element of a site visit, is that sort of experiential learning that comes from just hitting the ground with them.
When I first got into international development, I'd go on funder trips and really see dog and pony shows. And it was hard to get past the facade of, hey, we're going to drop into this village and all these amazing microfinance clients are going to come forward and, give us a little bracelet and, sing and dance and welcome us and have a parade, right? That doesn't sit well with me or my family.
The funders that don't visit, one of the things they miss is why we do what we do, understanding the fuller story, because they can be great advocates too for systems change. And so if they don't know who we are and why we do what we do, if they don't know the story like Suzanne does, then they're not able to really help other funders, for example, or even systems to make some changes.
I think our site visits too allow us to really look below the surface a bit. We really get sort of a peek into the world in which they're operating. It goes beyond just the usual due diligence that a lot of grant makers practice. It really gives us a better understanding for their work. And I think that allows me then in turn to go back and assist our board, enable our board to be better informed regarding the grant making.
I was thinking of a story recently that I can read about the school garden and I can read about the salad that's made from the produce in the garden, but until I go out to the school and see the children taking me through the garden, showing me the produce that they've made, seeing the cafeteria workers create that salsa or salad, and then watching the children enjoy it, that can't be captured on paper. You have to go out and see that live.
My piece of advice to funder is to get out of the office, go out into the community, and get to know the issues and challenges that those who you seek to serve ultimately are experiencing.